is fumbled, picked up by Kenneth Olabode, and he runs it in from the 6.
And Colorado has upset UCLA.
20th, and there it is! Are you kidding me?
Jumper from 15 and will knock it down. Kennedy Leonard.
Over left, there's a slip screen inside. Actually elevates and slams with the left hand.
I think for too long, we were focused on external standards. Worried about what other schools had, what other teams were doing, what other programs were doing, and what they had, rather than focusing on the great tradition and pride that we have, our internal standard. And that focus on an internal standard is something that I thought was clearly coming out in our Buffaloes last fall. A clearly defined internal standard that they were striving after day after day, practice after practice, game after game. That's what I saw. And it made the pride well back up in me about what that is finally paid off with a great class. And I would just challenge you that this is actually more of a starting line. And that starting line is for all of us. Because what we saw on the field last fall is actually an internal standard that is set for all of us. Time after time after time, we as a Buffalo family have to answer the bell of support. It's not good enough to just go to 100 million. We've got to reach higher. Okay? So we have to continually be supporting these athletes and the staff and the administration and everything going on at the University of Colorado. Because remember one thing, the pride and tradition of the Colorado Buffaloes will not be entrusted to the timid or the weak. And the Colorado Buffaloes, ladies and gentlemen, are just getting started.
Great words from former Buff quarterback Joel Klatt and current Fox Sports analyst at the luncheon last week after National Letter of Intent Signing Day. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Buffalo Stampede. I'm Mark Johnson of KOA Radio, your play-by-play voice of the Buffs. Darrin Chiaverini joining us. What a class the Buffs put together. By all accounts, top 30 class, give or take a spot or two here and there. The future of the Buffs looks bright, as this guy likes to tweet out every once in a while. Feeling pretty good about things after a National Letter of Intent Signing Day last week?
Yeah, very excited. You know, great group on offense and defense. You know, a lot of big boys up front and a lot of speed on the outside. So whenever you can sign a class like this, a top 30 class nationally, you're excited about the future of CU football and where we're headed.
Sheb, what would you say is the strength of this class?
You know, it'd probably be a tie between the O-line and receiving core. I just think that with the big boys we brought in some size, we brought in some, you know, athletic guys that can play on the edge and play on the perimeter. But also, if you look at the receiving core with Katie Nixon, LaVisca Chenault, you know, Jalen Jackson, those guys like Maurice Bell, when the ball's in their hands, they're dynamic. And so I think it was a great combination of big boys up front, but also speed on the outside.
What does it mean when this program is once again, and you've been here when this was the truth before, but able to go into Texas and take athletes like that?
Yeah, it's something we definitely put an emphasis on as a staff with Coach Mac and our full-time guys. It was just something that there's been great tradition, great history with the players that have come from Texas, from Dallas, from Houston, that area, and it was something that we really wanted to get back into. So it's definitely something where we got people's attention. People are talking about us being in those areas now, which is big.
There's no doubt you've got great passion for this program, being a former player, coming back here as a co-offensive coordinator. But the truth of the matter is you've got substance to sell with this program now, don't you?
Oh, no question. It's a lot easier to sell it now than it was a year ago. You know, coming off a 10-4 season, you know, a Pac-12 South championship, playing in a big-time bowl game, signing the top 30 class. I mean, there's a lot more clout now when you go down. And so when we head down to spring recruiting, they're going to know that the Buffs are for real. Before a year ago, it was more like, hey, we know we can get there. You know, you need to trust us. Now it's like, you know, they see it, you know, and they want to be a part of that.
Does that give you the opportunity to go in maybe on athletes that maybe 2-3 years ago this program could not go in on?
Yeah, I think no question. I think whenever you're a top 20 program, you know, and you're visibly on national television, people are talking about you. You're back in the, you know, in the headlines of SportsCenter. That's big. You know, that's big for your program. So I think it definitely pulls more weight now down in the Dallas area, down in those Houston areas, and also in Southern California, Northern California, and also winning our state. Want to win our state every year.
Is it important as well? You talk about keeping those guys guys home. And certainly there's some very good Colorado kids that are staying home to play for the Buffaloes. That's important, isn't it? Keeping those type of players here in state.
No question. I think, back when I played here and a little bit before, you always kept the top 3, 4, 5 guys in state. Now, it might not be the number 1 guy, it might not be the number 2 guy, but they're considered some of the top guys in the state of Colorado. We want to keep those guys home. We want them to know that we want them here and want them to be part of this great tradition that we have at CU.
How do the Buffs make sure that what we saw in 2016 isn't a blip, but yet it's a trend?
I tell our guys all the time that just because you have success doesn't mean you'll have more success. So our job now as a coaching staff is to get these guys ready to play. So that means spring ball, coaching them hard, talking about the mental side of the game, because I thought at the end of last season we kind of ran out of gas, and we don't want to do that. We want to play 15 games this year, and we want to be mentally tough all the way through the stretch.
I know you're always excited to get back to practice, but I bet you can't wait till spring ball gets started.
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to work with Steven Montez and Lytle and Sam Neuer with these we have a veteran group of receivers. We have a veteran group of offensive linemen. It's going to be exciting for this offense because we're not plugging in too many new pieces, just a couple new pieces. And now it's time for us to expand and get better.
Looking forward to it, Chev. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Darrin Chiaverini, he's the co-offensive coordinator for the Colorado Buffaloes, part of that staff to put together a top 30 recruiting class. When we come back here in the Stampede, we're going to hear a little bit from head coach Mike MacIntyre and Joel Klatt, who hosted that event, sat down with the coach in Denver. Welcome back to the Stampede. Well, we just finished talking recruiting with Darrin Chiaverini, the co-offensive coordinator here at the University of Colorado. Of course, last week, great event in the Mile High City after National Letter of Intent Signing Day. Hosting that event, of course, was former Buff quarterback and Fox Sports analyst Joel Klatt. He had a great conversation with head coach Mike MacIntyre during that event. Let's hear a portion of that.
First and foremost, you obviously explained all the kids with this great class, but just for you personally, I know you won a lot of Coach of the Year awards, but the Bobby Dodd Award has to mean so much to you. Your dad won it. You've got your coin, his coin in your pocket. You coach with it. What did that one specifically mean to you? And can you take me through the emotions when you got the news?
When I got the news, they don't make it public. They tell you before. And they did it. They called Rick George. So Rick George came and told me, and that was really, and I was really glad that he was able to be the one to tell me. It was surreal. At the same time, every one of these awards, and it's beyond truth, it goes to all our players, all our coaches, everybody involved. But that was one award as when I started coaching, that you kind of set goals out there. I wanted to be a head coach. But that was one award when I became a head coach. I said it'd really, really, really be special if I could get that. And then with Dad passing, I said, he's not going to get to see it if it ever happens. And then for it to happen in the year that he passed was extremely emotional for me, to say the least.
You deserve it. There's no question about it. Now, on the recruiting front, obviously the facilities are now state-of-the-art. They're as good as anybody's in the country. Practice facility, the Champion Center, the redo of Dal Ward, obviously for the Olympic sports, and your success on the field. How did you see that translate into what you were doing on the recruiting trail?
Well, we had a good, excellent class going before the season started, but I always said, the more games you win, it cements those young men. It gets more people interested, more other players. And I thought that, of course, this year, what we had been saying and doing all came to fruition. So they saw that we were building something special, and it was going to be special, and they could compete for championships at a phenomenal place to go to school with great academics. And so that made it even more special. And then and we want to be always in the Pac-12 championship game. We want to win the Pac-12 championship game. We want to play in the Rose Bowl. We want to do all those type of things. And I was saying that, and they're going, yeah. And they could feel it, but now they could tangibly see it. And so now this young men jumped in, and with the other guys that we have here, we'll keep it moving and keep it going. So I think it just really, what I'd say, it put the cement in between the bricks of the house is what it did.
When can we see the Buffs again? Tell us when details about spring.
We start spring February 22nd on Wednesday, and then our spring game is going to be March 18th. That's a week before spring break. Our guys are working out hard right now. It basically gives us 6 weeks before we start spring practice. Then we'll practice hard and lift during that, and then they'll have a good 6 or 7 weeks after spring break to keep lifting. And so we're excited about what's going on, and we're going to have another good football team.
Certainly an exciting day and a great recruiting class for Mike MacIntyre and the Colorado football team. Coming up next, we're going to pivot and talk basketball. Head coach Tad Boyle is going to join us ahead of the Huskies and the Cougars coming to town. That's next here in the Stampede.
It's kind of a cross between a jump shot and a hook, and there again, White with the steal, anticipating the flush, and one. Johnson getting out in transition, climbing the ladder.
Welcome back to the Stampede. We shift from football recruiting to basketball. The Buffs men's team got a split this past weekend, a win at Stanford on Thursday, shorthanded loss on Sunday against the Cal Golden Bears. Now get ready for the Washington schools to come to town. Second time the Buffs will see the schools from Washington. Head coach Tad Boyle joining us here for a couple of minutes. Give us, what's the postscript on that swing through the Bay Area? Split, win at Stanford, loss at Cal.
Well, look, I look at the positive things. We were, up 15 against Stanford with 3 minutes to go. I mean, things we're playing well. That's a team that turned around and beat Utah a couple days later. So some good things happened in that game. Obviously, against Cal, we're not happy with the result, but we were a little shorthanded. But I tell you what, our guys fought and they battled and tried to overcome some odds, and we weren't able to do it. But I like the fight of this team. Derek White continues to play well. I'm choosing to look at the positives, Mark, because it's about the guys that were out there in uniform, giving it their all, and as we come home now, a lot to look forward to these next 7 games.
But Ted, the thing that really struck me, I think, the last few games, we saw both games, Stanford and Cal, in the Bay Area. I don't know what switch you flipped, but you've got a much more active team at the defensive end all of a sudden.
They're playing more active. I think that started in the Oregon game. I think they saw, man, what happens when you do exert your will on the other team, and so we are trying to be more active, both down low in the post area. Stanford and Cal both have good front lines, and did a very, very good job, I thought, against Stanford. Against Cal, not so much in the rebounding area. But I had George King, had guard Ivan Rabb there for the last 20 minutes. We tried zone a little bit in the first half. They hit 9 threes. That didn't work too well. So we switched back to our normal man-to-man. And George, was giving up some pounds, giving up some inches. But I thought he really battled. Ivan Rabb had 20, 25, and 13 against Utah a couple nights earlier, and George held him to 11. I thought he did a great job.
Go back to the Stanford game for a second. If I would have told you beforehand you had 23 turnovers, would you have been guessing win or loss?
Loss. On the road, loss, with no doubt about it. So, again, we overcame some things, and that's what this team is trying to figure out. We've been able to overcome turnovers from time to time. What we haven't been able to overcome, Mark, is getting out rebounding and giving, USC here gets 17 offensive rebounds. We lose by a bucket. Cal gets 16 offensive rebounds, and we haven't been able to overcome that part of it, and so we knew that was a key. We talked about before the game going in, rebounding was a key against Cal, but we didn't get it done. But again, really good things against Stanford. We got to build on the positive, and I think that's what this team needs right now. Is we need to be positive with them. They need to be positive and get that mojo going, because we've got 5 of our last 7 at home.
Torrey Miller continues to be, speaking of building on a positive, he gave you 10 points off the bench against Stanford, got the start, obviously, shorthanded against Cal, gave you a double-double. He's pushing for more minutes out there.
He is. There's no doubt. Torrey's coming into his own. This is the Torrey Miller we really thought we could have when we signed him. And I just like his mental state, going into games, coming to practice every day. He's a guy down low. When we get him the ball, he scores more often than not. And I think defensively he's getting better. So we need Torrey. And we need Lucas Seawort's another guy that just keeps coming and getting better. So, again, some positive things are happening.
Well, what has Torrey done different offensively? He seems to have got a little jump hook he seems to be using quite a bit. I mean, there's certainly been some evolution going on there.
The biggest thing with Torrey is he's slowed down. The game is slowed down. When early in his career, when he would catch it down there, he'd want to get the ball and get to the basket as quickly as he could. And now he's taking his time. He's slowing down. He's reading the defense. When he has an advantage, he's taking it. But if he doesn't, he takes his time and uses the bounces to go into his jump hook, his right-hand jump hook, which is very good, and he's much more explosive too. Torrey's done a great job with his body, transforming that since he's been here as well, dropping the weight. He's much more explosive now.
Buffalo's got the Washington schools. That's a Thursday game with the Huskies, and then on Sunday against Wazoo. Second time you meet these teams. You talked about the opportunity, having a very home-heavy schedule the rest of the way. Challenge, but certainly an opportunity for the Buffaloes on Thursday.
No doubt. I mean, Markelle Fultz, you talk about Washington, it starts with him. He had a career-high 37 on us up in Seattle. Really got off in the second half, so we're gonna have a game plan ready for him. We're not going to stop Markelle Fultz, but we got to limit him. We got to make him work for everything. And then they've got other guys. Crisp hit a big three against us. He's a very volatile player. He can really run off threes in a hurry. So a couple guys in the perimeter, and they got Dickerson down low. That we'll have a game plan ready.
All right, good to be home. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
That's head coach Tad Boyle. The Washington schools coming to town. Speaking of the Washington schools, CU women had a split against UW and Wazoo. Assistant coach Shandrika Lee is going to join us next here in the Stampede. Busy weekend for the Buffs, and you can follow all of it by checking out the media schedule at cubuffs.com. The men's basketball team kicks off the weekend against the Washington Huskies on Thursday night at 8 p.m. That game will be live on Fox Sports 1 and the Colorado Basketball Network. Friday night, the women are on the road at Stanford, beginning at 9 p.m. Mountain Time. You can catch that game on the Pac-12 Network. Sunday is a busy day for CU Athletics. Lacrosse starts off their 2017 season at home against Northwestern at noon. That'll be broadcast live on Pac-12 Mountain. The women stay in the Bay Area to take on the Cal Golden Bears starting at 4 p.m. You can catch that broadcast on the Pac-12 Network. And finally, the men wrap up the weekend at home against the Washington State Cougars. Tip-off is set for 6:30 p.m. on ESPNU and the Colorado Basketball Network. As always, you can check out cubuffs.com for all upcoming games and where you can watch them.
Here at the University of Colorado, through my environmental design school, I was given the opportunity to design and build a shower house for the Llama Foundation, which is an educational and spiritual community off-grid in the mountains of Taos, New Mexico.
We spend about 3 weeks on the site in the summertime building the structure. And while students are on the site, they live there, they camp there, and we work from pretty much sunup to sundown.
I played a main part in the framing and the construction documents of that, which was awesome and an incredible learning experience. And at the end, we ended up creating an absolutely beautiful facility.
Kenzie was a great student to have. She is such a hard worker, and she just completely immerses herself in the project. She was really a team leader and encouraging us to get everything done, to do it right. Yeah, there were times that we made mistakes, but sort of she was in there to solve it and to figure it out, and I think she learned a lot from this project.
This opportunity that CU gave me to do an actual design and build project was one of a kind. The satisfaction of stepping back and looking at an actual full-scale project that you built from the ground up with your own two hands is one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done, and it really just reiterated that I'm in the right place, I'm in the right major, and I'm doing what I love, because I really loved every single second being out there and building that project.
That's a great piece on Kenzie Tillett looking to improve the environment. Shandrika Lee from the CU women's basketball team. They split their couple of games with Washington last week. It's always kind of fun, isn't it? You got these student athletes. They're excited with their education, go out and make a difference in the world. You get to be part of that early on.
Oh, absolutely. It's great. You know, I know one thing that our players, they love to do. They love to get out in the community, do a ton of community service. You know, I know we have a handful of our seniors who are going to look out and they're going to look and go and do engineering in the world, and, you know, and Haley Smith looking to make people's lives better.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Buffaloes, as I mentioned, got a split, knocking off Wazoo on Friday, losing to Washington. What's kind of the wrap up of the weekend? How'd the Buffs play?
If you saw the Washington State game, it was such a great game to be a part of. You know, very, very proud of the girls for both games. And it's funny because actually both games, it was like that fourth quarter surge. I think the Washington State one was pretty remarkable though. 31 points, I think it was.
31-9 run in the fourth quarter.
What?
How about that?
Yeah, it was so much fun. I know on the sideline, I felt like I was in the game. The crowd was amazing. It was just a lot of fun to be a part of.
This has been a little bit of an Achilles heel for the Buffs this season, trailing at halftime. This is the first time Colorado's come back and won a ball game. What do you think the difference performance was?
You know what? I actually asked the girls that after the game. I was like, what was going through your mind?
It had to be better coaching by you.
Oh, gosh, obviously. You know what? A lot of it throughout the course of the season is just building confidence, you know, and going out there. We put the press on Washington State, and they're a good team. They couldn't counteract it. You know, so that got our momentum going. Everyone started to play a little more aggressive. And then from there, 31-9 run. That I haven't seen that in a while.
Isn't momentum an interesting thing? We just saw this with the Super Bowl, of course, and the momentum shift.
Yes.
Have you ever been able to figure momentum out in a sporting event?
No, you just feel, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
You know, but I think
and to ride it when it happens.
You
right?
have to ride it when it happens. When you're on the other end of that, you have to continue to remind your kids, you know, teams go on runs. Now we have to stop the bleeding. And so I think that's a big thing with momentum.
One thing about momentum, it's always good to have Kennedy Leonard. She had 25 points, 16 in the fourth quarter. She was certainly feeling momentum in the fourth quarter.
She was. She has these fourth quarters that are like, wow. Like she just put up 16 points in the fourth quarter alone. And I mean, that kid has that ability.
Buffalo's income back. They dropped the ball game against number 10 Washington, 79-75. Close ball game. You kind of contained the Plum girl who anytime she can blow up for 45 points. So you did a pretty good job on her.
Yes. Not good enough, right? Not good enough. She had a lot of open looks. I mean, Kelsey Plum, every open look for her is pretty much a layup. You know, and there were a couple possessions in transition. We didn't stop the ball. She goes for 3. We didn't stop her. You know, she gets to the middle of the key, 2 points. And Washington obviously is a really good team, and they get going in transition. So those are the points that we have to do better second half.
Washington, a top 10 team. One of the reasons the Buffs were able to stand it, you pretty much took care of the rebounding in that ball game against the Huskies.
Yeah, we went into into halftime, I think, they had 1 offensive rebound.
Wow.
So we told they also shot the ball really well. So, you know, that's tough when you're making a lot of shots. There aren't a lot of offensive rebounds to get, but they are very good on the boards. We did a better job than usual on the rebounding. So we need to carry that into Stanford Cal.
I was going to say, the men and women kind of switch opponents here. The men were at the Bay Area. They got the Washington schools coming in. Women were hosting Washington. Now you're at the Bay. Stanford Cal, very big challenges coming up this weekend.
Oh, yes. Very, very big challenge. You know, Stanford's coming off of a loss last night to UCLA. So they're going to be ready as ever just, you know, to come out on Friday for their fans. And so we're going to be prepared. You know, it's our second time playing them. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Assistant coach Shandrika Lee joining us here as we put a wrap on the Stampede. The Buff women on the road in the Bay Area against Stanford Cal. The men have got Washington and Washington State right here at the Coors Event Center. We'll talk to you next week here in the Stampede.